Hi everyone, I'm here at Echo Valley Farms in the Driftless region of Wisconsin, and do you see that hill back there? That's where we're going to go up and look for mushrooms. It's super exciting because walking around I found that the milkweed is ready now. So we'll pick some of this and bring it in too. Hello everyone, my name is Elena Terry. Ho-chunk Rajda Hahe Maniwinga Hingaire. I am a member of the Ho-chunk Nation and I am an Indigenous food chef. I work for the Native American Food Sovereignty Alliance as the Food and Culinary Program Coordinator, and I'm also the executive chef and founder of Wild Berries nonprofit. It's a community outreach educational programming for Indigenous foods. We work in seed saving and gardening. We work with ethnobotanists and foraging and teaching life skills. It's a wonderful program. So I was very honored to be invited as one of the guest chef speakers to do a demonstration today. And I was thinking, to go along with Wild Berries, what would we want to do? And I wanted to focus on some of the wild things that we have here. I am a member of the Ho-chunk Nation and we are a woodland tribe. So we do get a lot of our food from the woods, obviously. And so one of the things, especially in the springtime, we like to go out and get certain ingredients. And so the dish that I'll be making for you today will highlight some of those ingredients. So I wanted to go over some of them here for you. A lot of times we have to dehydrate because some things are only in season for, even a day or a couple days or a week. So I like to dehydrate my stuff to make sure that I'll have it, year round. So this is an example of the dehydrated morels that I got the other day. I think you saw that in the video. And all I did was rehydrate them with a little bit of water, let them sit and get to the reconstituted state there. I also do that with my ramps, which is a great seasoning. And you can see kind of the difference. These are some cultivated ones that I got with a food share, but they are similar. This would be this part, and I dry them in separate stages so that they'll preserve properly. And then I also was able to get some fresh wild asparagus. One of the things with the wild asparagus is you can get them in so many different shapes and sizes, like this one as opposed to this one, and they were growing right next to each other. But it's such a beautiful plant, and we're lucky enough to have this wild here as well. I also got this wonderful addition because it's just now started milkweed season. And this is like a delicacy for Ho-chunk, so I wanted to add this in the dish as well. So those are just some of the things that I was able to find in the forest. And we're going to transform some of these and use them in different ways to highlight this dish, which we're going to make wild rice pasta with nettles, asparagus, ramps, morels, squash. It'll be delicious. So the first thing that I want to do is get my vegetables roasting. So I want to trim them, and I want to get them as uniform as possible. So these have been rinsed and cleaned. And I just want to lightly toss these in some sunflower oil with salt and pepper, and I'm going to get them in the oven to be roasting. So do that quickly. There we go. All right, so I also mentioned squash is like my favorite ingredient, and I really think it's like an underutilized ingredient. It can be savory or sweet, it can be pureed or solid. So one of the things I want to do is use a little bit of the squash. So this is just a butternut squash that I've cut into slices. And I have a cookie cutter with a little bit of a scalloped edge, and I'm just gonna go ahead and punch out the inside of that. You can see just like that. And I'm also going to toss this in some sunflower oil and salt it and pepper it and put it in the oven with the roasted vegetables. And we'll use this for a garnish. So as those are going, we're going to talk about our pasta. So I definitely like using our wild ingredients, our indigenous ingredients. If I can, I use organic ingredients and support our local communities and our growers. Sometimes I think that when the wild flavors that come with these ingredients aren't always something that people are familiar with. And sometimes it can be intimidating. I know that, especially for something like mushrooms, or if you're out in the woods and you think that something is the right kind of plant, but you're not 100% sure, it could be a little bit intimidating to be going out foraging and getting food. So I like to include some of our ingredients and highlight them in different ways so that people can relate a little bit more to, the flavors and the textures, even the smells of these ingredients. Wild ramps are very strong, and sometimes that is even a little bit intimidating. So I like to try and blend my ingredients in a way that it's relatable to people who might not have experienced it before. So one of the things that I wanted to do with this was make some pasta. And I've made some wild rice pasta before, and since we had these amazing ingredients that are fresh right now, I decided to go ahead and add to the wild rice pasta and add some of the nettle and the ramp pesto. So I mixed nettles and ramps together to make this pesto, and I'm not making it fresh now because those were actually in season about 3 weeks ago, and so I got them and I made the pesto and then I froze it, and then it's just a matter of thawing it after that, and it comes out beautiful, but we can go over that later. So I added a little bit of that pesto to my pasta as well to make sure that we have some of these different flavors and we can highlight the textures as well. So I did mix this up before. This is wild rice pasta. So it's just wild rice flour, which is uncooked wild rice ground very finely. We have the nettle and ramp pesto, and then all-purpose flour, eggs, and a little bit of salt, and that's all we needed to make this pasta. And I was thinking about how we were going to do the pasta today to highlight some of these other ingredients that I was able to get, because when I first thought of the idea, I was thinking that it would be the season for ramps and we could highlight wild rice, but in the meantime the asparagus came and so did the milkweed, so I wanted to incorporate that in as well. So for my dough, what I like to do when I'm using a different kind of flour is kind of go 3/4 to 1/4 of the different flour, because especially something like wild rice flour, it's going to take up a lot more of the moisture than if you had just regular all-purpose flour. So you want to make sure that those accommodations are made when you're compensating for the amount of hydration that the pasta needs or has, and what the wild rice, or if you're using a different kind of flour, what that's going to absorb. But in order to get that gluten, you do need to use some of that all-purpose flour, or any kind of flour that does have that gluten in it. So I went ahead and mixed this and let it rest because it does need time to rest, but we are going to roll some of it out and see before we make the ravioli. So I just have my trusty old KitchenAid here, and I have this pasta attachment. And I have a little bit of some cornmeal. Put down. Flatten it out a little bit. It's beautiful. I love the color. And I'm going to turn this on and go ahead and roll it out a little bit. Change the dial setting. Started out with the thicker one. We'll see how this goes. So can you see that it's just got this wonderful earthy color to it? And I wish you could smell it. It smells like wild rice and like a rich oniony. It smells amazing. Just a little bit more of this. So I always think it's nice to kind of go and talk about some of the different flours, especially because there's so many people nowadays